Mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
How are we doing? It is Maritime Monday. I'm glad you're here. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, however good it feels, etc., etc. I'm glad you're all doing it here. I am Legal Vices. This is Maritime Monday, and that's what we're going to be getting into. We got a little bit of current news to go over today. This is an incident that happened the day after my birthday on July 6th. So this is modern stuff we're looking at today. It's an ongoing story. I just wanted to kind of walk you through several articles and show some videos about this so you can kind of get a scope of what even a seemingly little situation can actually mean in the whole grand scope of things. First of all, let's take a look at this ship. The ship we're going to be talking about today it's an Italian flagship called the Grande Costa d'Avorio, I suppose. Me not being an Italian speaker, you figure out your own inflections and pronunciations. The Grande Costa d'Avorio. It's what they call a ro-ro cargo ship, which ro-ro stands for roll on, roll off. In other words, you drive things on, you drive things off, like cars. So it's you can drive semi trucks, you can drive tractor trailers on there. Anything with wheels, tracks, etc. can go on there. And this is also it's not only a ro-ro vessel. It serves more functions. We'll see the picture of it here coming up in a little bit. But part of it is a container vessel, and part of it is essentially a car carrier. We'll call it a car carrier just for ease of discussion tonight. And it's a fairly good size ship. Again, it's flagged in Italy. It's 47,232 tons. So nearly 50,000 tons. And it is, what are we looking at here? Its length is 210 meters and 36 meters wide. And it can carry 800 containers, which is a very, very small amount of containers. The rest is made up with the ro-ro section, the roll-on, roll-off section of the vessel that deals with cars, trailers, whatnot. Oh, but there was an incident last week. And before we get to that, I just want to say hi to everybody. There's no real reason to do a poll today. Just mods, if you could remind people as they come in to hit that like and subscribe button. Just kind of keep tabs on that. We'll deal with a poll during our next stream, which is the YNW Melee trial. We return to that in just about 55 minutes. So this is going to be a rather short stream, but it's just kind of something I wanted to do. And there's a few issues we need to talk about other than just this particular incident. So let me do a little bit of back of house stuff here, which I just did. Let the people in Twitter land know that we are live. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, got 120 of you here now, 66 likes. Half of you have not done your job. So please reach down there, smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and let me know that you appreciate what we're doing here. Let me know you're having fun. Let me know you like this. And let YouTube know. That's also more important. And Alan, who has been, okay, now we do need to talk about something real quick because some people just didn't get a clue. We started doing this a week ago. And everybody's like, why are you reposting comments, Boomer? Why are you reposting comments, Boomer? Oh, Boomer's lost his mind. He's copying and pasting old chats. No. See, if you look over in chat right now, Alan, who's been a member for 9 months of the Clean and Sober crew, I can't see that unless I'm looking directly at it when the message comes up in YouTube Studio. It doesn't show up in the StreamYard platform. What shows up in StreamYard are super chats and memberships, joining memberships. The monthly chats you get by being a member do not show up. So if I see them come up, then what I've been doing is, you see Alan is over there now. I cut it and paste it like I just did there. And then I start, and then I can bring it up on the screen. So that's how because because I want to bring up on screen people's membership chats. I've just been reading them for the last year and a little bit. So now I'm copying and pasting them into chat. So now I can say, Alan, who's been a member of 6 months for the Clean and Sober crew, says, I'm still here. Love this Legal Vices. See, thank you so much. It's been a member for 9 months. So thank you so much for that. See, that's what I'm doing. I'm not being a boomer. I'm being conscientious and considerate of people. So everybody that called me a boomer last week, y'all can just apologize. So there we go. Yeah, everybody last week was like, boomer's copy. Why is he copying and pasting everything? Oh, he's broken. And yeah, so yeah. But I'm smarter than you. We decided to do that. So all right, enough of that. let's move on, and we can all apologize next stream, but we don't have time for me to accept all of your apologies. That would just take far too long right now. We'll do that next stream. Just kidding, folks. Yes, that's probably why I didn't see why you didn't see my happy birthday chat on your birthday stream. That is probably exactly why. So all right, let's get on with this because we do have some things to talk about. But before we do, just one more example of how awesome I am. Look at me, except for I left off the P. Pastor Flash, member for 2 months of the Clean and Sober crew, says, good day, not Boomer, Jeff, and chat. See, you're learning. All right, what happened here? Let me bring this up here. This is a fire that occurred on the vessel. And of course, it's a recent situation. I've got tons of news and videos here pulled up, so I have to make sure they all go in the proper order. Right. This article goes back to July 6th. I'm bigging it so we can all read it together here. 1 firefighter rescued, 1 unaccounted for at a New Jersey shipyard fire. This was hours after it started. This is back when things were a little more optimistic. 1 firefighter was removed from the ship around midnight as additional fire crews continued to respond to the ship fire in the port of Newark. Now here's a bit of video.
Following breaking news in Newark tonight, a search for 2 firefighters who were unaccounted for at this point after a fire on a ship.
That's the ship burning
at the
here.
Port of Newark started just before 9:30 tonight. We're told most of the fire has been knocked down, but again,
Incorrect.
2 firefighters unaccounted for. We'll have the very latest for you on this story tomorrow morning on CBS 2 News this morning, starting at 4:30 a.m.
So bear that in mind. They were saying that a couple of hours after the fire started, most of it had been knocked down. Well, that turned out to be very, very incorrect, which we're gonna see here in just a bit. So firefighters are working, and this is just a couple of hours after it happened on July 6th. Firefighters are working to rescue at least 2 firefighters who went down during a ship fire in Newark Wednesday night. The fire was reported in a multi-level ship docked on Marsh Street in Port of Newark before 10 p.m. Multiple reports on social media said the ship is filled with cars. It was filled with cars. According to scanner traffic on Broadcastify, 1 firefighter was rescued and outside the ship just after 12 a.m. local time. Once off the ship, they were transported to the hospital. During rescue efforts, additional maydays were sounded for firefighters, with all of those members being accounted within 20 minutes. Still, 1 firefighter remained missing. Additional rescue and fire resources were summoned from Bayonne, Elizabeth, Hackensack, Hoboken, Jersey City, North Hudson Regional, Patterson. My mother was born in Patterson. Fire departments. So you can see like firefighters from all of these other departments also came. There's only 1 ship, but they have experience with these port ship fires, so they know how bad this can get. As part of the state's Urban Area Search Initiative Task Force, FDNY Rescue Squad 8 and an air supply. Ooh, I almost started singing there. And an air supply unit were also dispatched to help. Commanders were calling for thermal imaging cameras. We're going to look at the thermal imaging cameras here in just a little bit. 60-minute SCBA bottles, search ropes, and battery-powered extrication equipment as crews arrived at the scene. So that was the first story that we had about this fire. And again, as with a great number of news stories, the initial thoughts, the initial beliefs, the initial impressions are not actually what occurred. Things turned out to be a little bit worse than that. And Sol on the Lich with ARS-20 coming at me. Morning, Jeff. Ready for the Canabroad trial. Stay tuned next Monday. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the beginning of the YNW Millie stream about 45 minutes from now. Thank you so much for that super chat. Deeply appreciated. All right, the next article, which was just from a little bit later in the evening. U.S. fire video ship engulfs in blaze at Port Newark in New Jersey. Multiple firefighters missing. In a tragic turn of events, a large ship caught fire at the Newark port in New Jersey, prompting a swift response from multiple firefighters and emergency personnel. The incident unfolded following. Yep. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I have an ad. McAfee ad just popped up in front of my face. There we go. Thank you. Go away, McAfee. You're dead. You shouldn't be on my computer screen. The incident unfolded following a distress call reporting a ship fire, leading to concerns for the safety of the firefighters involved. As the situation unfolds, efforts are underway to combat the blaze and locate any missing or unaccounted for firefighters. The magnitude of the fire and the status of the ship remain uncertain. They're starting to walk back that we've got it all almost knocked down story already, intensifying the urgency of the ongoing rescue and firefighting operations. And again, we saw the video there before. So what happened next? Well, here's to let you know that the fire was in fact not easily tamed, easily beaten down within hours. I said, here's a video from the next morning.
These two firefighters tragically lost their life in this fire that, as you can still see, it is still burning here as we speak. You can still see the smoke billowing there into the sky.
Right. So the fire is still going the next morning. Sorry, we had to use the Sun as a news outlet, but they had a good video. So we're using the Sun. But it's the U.S. edition of the Sun, so I think that makes it slightly better. But as you can see from the headline, 2 firefighters have been confirmed dead. 2 firefighters have died after battling a fire. All right, go away. 2 firefighters have died after battling a fire that broke out on a cargo ship. Fire crews charged to the port of Newark in New Jersey to tackle the blaze that erupted on Wednesday night. That's Augusto Acabo. He was killed. There's the ship again. You can see the metal plating start to buckle under the heat. If you look closely at that. And we have Wayne Brooks Jr., who also was confirmed dead in this fire. The fire broke out in 5 to 7 cars. This is the interesting thing. I've worked on a couple of car carrier fires, and that may be as close as they ever get to finding out where and how this fire started. Because the heat is so intense in these things, and it continues so long, everything sort of around the epicenter is reduced to just a pile of slag. Just molten, everything just liquefies, and it's pretty darn hard to find out how the fire was caused. And it could be any number of things: gasoline, oil, electrical problems, battery problems, electric car battery problems. We just don't know. And when everything is just reduced to a puddle of molten metal, it might be hard to find out. So they believe the fire broke out in 5 to 7 cars around the 11th and 12th floors of the vessel, named the Grande Costa d'Avorio. At least 5,000 cars were on board the ship at the time of the blaze. So you can see all the ships are all inside this section here. There's a front shot of the ship that we'll look at here in a little bit. But they're all stacked up here in 12 or 13 different floors and on deck. Chief Rufus Jackson told the ABC affiliate WABC members made an attempt to extinguish the fire, but got pushed back by the intense heat. Again, this is a fire that's happening on several levels of a vessel that is made out of steel. They are essentially trying to put out a fire in what amounts to a gigantic oven. That's all it is. It is a giant oven, and they're trying to put out the fire in it. 2 firefighters were lost while conducting this action and backing out of the structure. They were found inside the ship and pronounced dead at the scene. The firefighters were identified as Augusto Acabo and Wayne Brooks Jr. Newark Mayor Ross Baraka said the firefighters' deaths were a tragedy for the city. Dramatic pictures shared on social media showed smoke billowing from the ship, which is owned by the Italian company Grimaldi Group, per the New York Times. Now, I do have a New York Times article, but they give you basically one free article a month or something like that. So I had to copy and paste this article. Let's see how the copy and pasting efforts went. Let's see, bring this up, and then I got to share the window. This is something I don't do very often because I just don't like it. So let's share this screen. We need to share the window. Where are we? Boom. This is a cut and paste from the New York Times. It's awkward and unwieldy. Ship catches fire in Port of Newark in New Jersey. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey said it had responded to the fire on Wednesday night. No other details were immediately available. Here's a picture of the ship. You can see the front part here. This is where they store the 800 containers. And the rest, all of this back here and under the decks is where the cars and other rolling things are stored. This is the guy that wrote the article. Hi, Mike. A ship caught fire while docked at Port Newark in New Jersey on Wednesday. So now, we're the next day here. A spokeswoman for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey said. The spokeswoman, Lennis Valens, said by phone early Thursday that Port Authority police officers had responded after 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday to fight a fire on a ship that was docked at the port. Ms. Valens said that she had no other details, including the status of the fire. So again, the next day, they're now saying we don't even know what the status of the fire is. Why? Because it's burning inside this gigantic 50,000-ton oven. They can't get in to extinguish it. They can't get in to put it out. So they can't tell what the status of the fire is. Several units from the New York Fire Department responded after midnight, and operations were ongoing as of around 3 a.m., the department said in a brief email. Representatives of the Newark Department of Public Safety, the Newark Fire Division, and the United States Coast Guard did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Port Newark Container Terminal, as the port is officially called, is 272 acres, or about a third the size of Central Park in Manhattan. In 2022, a fire at a scrap metal recycling facility there produced smoke that wafted through Manhattan and Brooklyn. The ports in New Jersey and neighboring New York State are owned by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Makes sense. As of last year, the Port of New Jersey, New York and New Jersey was the second largest container port by volume in the United States, just behind the Port of Los Angeles and slightly ahead of the Port of Long Beach, also in California. Of the $271 billion worth of goods that moved through the Port of New York and New Jersey in 2022, furniture was the top commodity import. Vehicles and their parts were the top export. So what this tells us is that this fire is, let me get rid of that screen. This fire is engaged in a ship that is carrying the largest exported item from that port, which means it's at a very, very busy berth. And I don't know if it's moved yet, but it's there and it's blocking that berth from being used by other ships. So that's leading to logistical problems. That's backing up the loading and unloading of cargo, which is causing losses and delays, which leads to penalties for each vessel that can sometimes result in tens of thousands of dollars a day. And that also gets back to the cargo owners, who, if they have a deadline for delivery with penalty provisions that say you owe us so much, a certain percentage of the contract or a certain liquidated damages amount of X dollars per day that you're late in delivering the cargo, this can lead to tens of millions of dollars just in penalty provisions. So that's it's important that they try to get this thing out of the way as quickly as possible. Oh my God, the day charges are insane. The largest I have ever seen was a gigantic iron ore carrier. The daily hire, the daily rental for that ship was $85,000 a day. That's what it costs to use that ship. So if I wanted to use that ship for 6 months, I would contract and make a contract to pay the ship owner $85,000 a day for 6 months to use that ship. So we are talking huge amounts of money. So the fire, I mentioned that they brought in the thermal imaging cameras. So this is the thermal imaging camera here. And we have just like the night vision camera here on the right and the thermal imaging on the left. This is what the fire was looking like on the night of the fire. No audio. Just look at the size of the ship and look how much of that is just glowing red. That's if you put a thermal imaging camera on your oven in the middle of cooking something at high temperatures, this is what it would look like. It's the same temperature as the fire. I mean, that's a pretty amazing video there. It kind of gives you, so it's not just an isolated thing in one section. The entire ship is glowing. And that's why the firefighters can't get in to put it out or to see what happened. And meanwhile, it's just melting everything down. And unfortunately, it leads to the deaths of firefighters occasionally. Let's see. We have AA Ron. We need to bring up your thing here, AA Ron, before we move on. Don't want to miss you. AA Ron, who's been a member for, where'd we go? There we go. Who's been a member for 8 months of the Bent Halos and Broken Wings level. Running 12 minutes behind, YouTube suck, rock on Vices and Vice Squad. You'll catch up between this and the next stream for the YNW Melly trial, I am sure. All right, let's see. No super chats, so let's move on to the next article. All right. And this is from Jalopnik. Car carrier blaze kills 2 firefighters in New Jersey. Here we go. This is the good view of the ship. You can see where this is where the 800 containers are stored, and the rest of this massive thing, all is under here, and all this back here is where the cars are. So 2 firefighters were killed while battling a fire on a car carrier in Newark, New Jersey. The Grande Costa d'Avorio, an Italian roll-on, roll-off car and container ship, was docked to the port of Newark when the fire broke out. The intensity of the blaze on the ship carrying over 1,000 vehicles. So we've got a difference between 1,000 vehicles and 5,000 vehicles. I don't think this is big enough to carry 5,000 vehicles. It's similar in size to one of the car carriers that we dealt with that caught on fire, and they had about 3,500 cars on it. So I would guess if you chop out this section here, probably closer to 1,000 vehicles than 5. That would be my guess. And again, not much difference here. The fire started among 5 to 7 cars on the ship's 10th deck. Again, 10th, 11th, 12th, they don't know. So you can see the conflicting information that's coming out. As dock workers and crew members moved vehicles, something have a leak, something hits a spark, some saltwater issues. It can just be backup of chemical. We just don't know. WABC reports that firefighters from the Newark Fire Division were dispatched to respond to the blaze at 9:30 p.m. Once on the scene, the firefighters identified that the fire had spread to the 11th and 12th decks. The heat was so intense that the firefighters were forced to back out of the ship. 2 firefighters killed, were lost while backing out, and got trapped on board. That, to me, fire is my absolute nightmare death. That for me is my absolute nightmare death. So yeah, that sucks. The injured firefighters able to evacuate were transported to University Hospital in Newark. We lost 2 firefighters today, a tragedy for us in the city of Newark, and tragic for all firefighters who know what it means to go in a burning structure in a danger that you are going to have to experience when you do so. There are about 5,000 cars on the boat, just to give you a perspective. This is a very huge structure that the guys had to breach. In the process, we had 2 calls for maydays. As the fire fought overnight, the 2 trapped firefighters were eventually found on board and pronounced dead. The Grimaldi Group, the ship's operator, stated that the Grande Costa d'Avorio isn't at risk of sinking, and there are no electric or hazardous materials on board. Well, I would like to know what they mean by hazardous materials, because that's not usually a correct statement when you're carrying cars. it has gasoline in them for one. There's oil in them. There's other chemicals. There's other fluids in the vehicle. There's electrical wiring that's wrapped with hazardous materials. If they're burned, there's tires that they can have some hazardous vapors and things when they burn. Burning paint isn't that great for you. So I think what they mean is there's probably no large containers of, horrific things like acid laying around. But to say there's no hazardous material on board, I think is being a little optimistic. And again, the both of the car carrier fire cases that I worked on, the port wanted nothing to do with them. And the grounds they refused their entry into port were that there were dangerous materials on board. There were dangerous, hazardous chemicals, hazardous materials, which was pretty much just the slag from the fire. So, let's see. Here's a the news story. We'll save the news story to see if we have the time. But we said that at 9:30 the fire started. Then a couple of hours later, they said it's almost beaten back. Then they said they don't know the status. So how long did it take to put out this fire? This fire was contained after 5 days. And I mean, that's actually pretty quick. That's some good fire response. Put out a car carrier fire in 5 days. That's pretty good. I've seen chemical ships that'll burn for months. It seems like a long time, but again, you've just got to wait for this gigantic 50,000 ton structure to burn itself out. So 5 days after it erupted, the deadly fire aboard Grimaldi's vehicle carrier Grande Costa d'Avorio, docked at Port Newark, New Jersey, has now been contained. The fire, which sadly took the lives of 2 firefighters in the Newark Fire Brigade, had started in the upper decks aboard the 2011 built car carrier. It's only 12 years old. That's a pretty new ship, which had been loading used automobiles bound for export. At berth 8, used vehicles, you're also, that's slightly more risky than new vehicles because you don't know really the condition that the used vehicles are in and what shorts there may be in systems, etc. The fire is contained on the 11th deck and is being suppressed and no longer spreading to other areas of the vessel. That's after 5 days, guys. Responders are also continuing dewatering operations on the lower decks. So due to the successful dewatering, the vessel has been further stabilized because they've been pumping water on this thing for 5 days. Massive amounts of water. You saw some of it in the thermal imaging video. And we know from other cases that you pump water onto a ship, lots of water gets on the ship, that all goes to the bottom, that settles the vessel down, and it destabilizes it and can sink it. So while they're putting out the fire, while they're pumping all this water on it, they've also got to pump the used water out of the vessel so that they can keep it stable and keep it afloat. In an update on 10 July, the U.S. Coast Guard said as of Sunday, the 11th deck is being monitored and overhauled to address any remaining heat sources. Responders are dewatering spaces as necessary to ensure continued stability. Following the outbreak of the fire on the evening of Wednesday, July 5th, the U.S. Coast Guard, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Newark Fire Department, etc. We read all of those lists there. Set up a unified command in Port Newark, which was working closely with local firefighters. GMS had been monitoring air quality in the vicinity because, again, you've got all of these chemicals that are being released into the atmosphere as this sucker burns. The port was partially closed. Losses and damages. Eek. Bethany Rooney saying the Port Authority continues to remain focused on maintaining operations across the port. They have to do this. They have to do this. As Jason J is pointing out here, row boat fire is worse. Diesel, like most boats, or coal fire, like the SS Badger here on Lake Michigan. I don't know. I would think, my gut tells me a diesel Diesel would be worse because that has just a whole bunch more fuel, and coal kind of burns a little. But diesel fires are easier to put out than coal fires. I don't know. They both suck, and that it's terrible that fires have to happen on any kind of ship. I'd be interested to hear an expert's opinion, like a fire suppression expert. That would be interesting. Never thought of that. Besides the firefighters from Newark, responders from neighboring towns, Elizabeth and Jersey City, had also been deployed to fight the blaze. In a widely quoted response to a press conference query, Panagen, that's the Port Authority for New York and New Jersey, Rooney, noted that we do not have a fire department within the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We currently rely on the local municipalities. But again, as this investigation unfolds, everything is on the table for consideration. And interestingly, a report published in May 2022 by Allianz Global Corporate, and this is an insurance company, a major property and casualty insurance carrier, said fires have also become a major loss driver for car carriers. And we've just seen in this past year, I mean, in 2023, 2 car carriers have caught on fire and burned. There was one that made a big news story because it was carrying one-of-a-kind, irreplaceable, ridiculously high-value cars. Ugh. So among other causes, they can start in cargo holds, caused by malfunctions or electrical short circuits in vehicles, while the open decks can allow them to spread quickly. The growing number of electric vehicles transported by sea brings further challenges. Yeah, you kind of want to keep salt water out of your electric car battery system. Given existing countermeasure systems may not respond effectively in the end of an EV blaze. Losses can be expensive given the value of the car cargo, the cost of wreck removal, and pollution mitigation, not to mention the loss to the ship, as well as the lost earnings that can come in from that happening. Well, it's a big deal. And I was going to play a news story, but I think we've all got the point. This is the point of Maritime Monday. We do the old cases, we do some recent cases, and we do some current things. I saw this kind of developing over the past week, and I was waiting to see how long it took to put the fire out and what they were able to tell us. So the last 10 days I've been watching it, and I thought we would do that for today's quick little Maritime Monday show, just to kind of give you a little idea of how things unfold in essentially real time. It'll take months and months and months for anything. I think the first car carrier incident that we worked on, they had a team of 5 of the world's best car and vessel fire investigation technicians just crawling all over that ship for a month, and literally dawn till dusk working in there in the full chemical suits. After a month of crawling around there in the hot summer, nonetheless, their answer was, don't know, can't tell. Why? Because everything was melted and destroyed. If it's not destroyed by the fire, it's destroyed by the water to put the fire out. And they may never, ever, ever know how this fire occurred. If they do, it's just this side of probably a miracle. But there's going to be financial repercussions that go on for years for this. No, it's not insurance fraud. Your insurance, the damage to the vessel is probably going to be some of the least expensive things. If you're gonna commit insurance fraud with a ship, you sink it in the middle of the ocean. You don't burn it at a port, at the busiest port, or the second busiest port in America. Yeah, that would be a really, really dumb decision to make, because you're going to be liable for a gajillion dollars worth of losses and damages other than your own vessel. It's the ship just sank out in the middle of the ocean and we really have no idea why or how. That's where a lot of the insurance fraud. But there's not a lot of vessel insurance fraud from sinking ships anymore. It tends to be with the smaller ships, like little fishing boats. So, they can't keep up the payments and whatnot. But I mean, giant ships like this from one of the world's most reputable commercial vessel lines from Italy. Yeah, it's not going to be insurance fraud. Not a chance. Yeah, no legal advice. I was commenting on fact. That's the fact, not what to do. That was a fact of the situation. Otto says Grimaldi is a mafia family. Well, isn't anyone with an Italian name a mafia family? Just kidding. Yeah, well, so that's what I wanted to talk about for Maritime Monday. But there's a couple of other things I wanted to just quickly touch on for the next 10 minutes or so about what's going on here in Korea. As you know, I've been putting out on Twitter, as I've been talking about on the streams and things, it's monsoon season here. And basically it's called Jangma. Jangma, you know, it's like long rains. Jangma lasts about somewhere between 2 weeks and a month. We've been going strong for 3 weeks. I don't think there's been a day it hasn't rained in 3 weeks. The sun came out for about 45 minutes today when I was sitting at my desk in my office looking out the window. The room got noticeably brighter for a minute. And I thought, wow, the sun came out. If any of you have seen have read the Ray Bradbury story about there was a story about kids on Venus, and the sun came out like for an hour every 10 or 20 years or something, and they were playing, and one little girl got locked in the closet and missed the sun coming out. That's kind of how I felt today. I literally haven't seen the sun in 3 weeks, and it just kind of, I could just see the room get bright, and I looked out through the blinds and saw a little hint of blue in the clouds. But we've just been getting pounded. I haven't seen this much rain. I mean, maybe back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when there was a great time when 2 Category 4 typhoons converged right on Busan. That was some rain. That was some serious rain. But yeah, I haven't seen rain like this in a very, very long time. Captain Have Fun says, I miss rain like that. I live in LA. You don't miss rain like this. We're getting 2, 3, 4 inches a day. We're expected to get another 5 inches overnight. And they're saying by the end of the week, we should be getting 12 more inches of rain, 30 centimeters more of rain. And it's causing some problems. Hey, Flux, you're alive. Hey, what's up, girl? Good to see you there, Flux. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to share some stuff with you to give you a little bit of an idea how things are going here. South Korea floods. President urges climate crisis action as death toll hits 40. 40 people have died from the rains, and there's a bunch more missing in the last 3 weeks. Most of them are in the smaller towns and villages in the middle of the country. Mikey Varnas, member for 1 month of the Legal Vices Fallen Angels. Need to bring him up here. Do the cut and paste thing. Where are we at here? Boom. Yes, member for 1 month of Legal Vices Fallen Angels. I clicked away while I was scratching my ear. Sorry for being late and gay. I've been looking for your Polish fishing cap. It's Starkowski. Starkowski. Where were you able to get yours? I got mine from Starkowski, their headquarters in Poland. It came directly from Poland to my house. So go to Starkowski. Just search for Starkowski hats. I think it might even be Starkowski.com. It doesn't have... Yes, it is. It's Starkowski.com. So there you go. Starkowski.com for all your fishing hat needs. Thank you so much for being a member of the Fallen Angels crew for 1 month. So anyway, yeah, 40 people have died, and there's a bunch more missing from this. And we're going to talk about this little part here in just a bit. Sure, yeah, you don't want to. Where's your volume control? There you go. Yeah, well, we'll talk about this tunnel here in a bit. Because what happened, and we're going to talk about this here for just a few minutes, is there's a road that runs next to a river. And the river bank was filling up with water. And it was just an unfortunate coincidence. Just because there was so much rain over such a long time, on Saturday, I believe it was, the berm that was keeping the river in its banks broke. And so all of this water dumped out of the river onto the road right where there was an underpass under a bridge. So that, there was a long underpass that went under another bridge, and that water instantly filled the underpass full of water, trapping, I think it was 20 vehicles underneath, essentially in this tunnel that filled with water pretty instantly. And that's what these guys here in this video are doing. They're walking through the tunnel shoulder to shoulder, searching for bodies. Yeah, this is the entrance to the underpass. And they're pumping the water out. So they're getting the water down, but that's still pretty darn deep. But yeah, that's the river that broke its bank there, and it just dumped it straight into the road. Mr. Enzo says Koreans have no sense of survival. What the hell does that mean? They were just driving in traffic, and suddenly there was a wall of water that swamped them. I'm not sure what that's all about, but yeah. Rescuers in South Korea have recovered a total of 13 bodies from a flooded road tunnel in the central city, as the death toll from flash floods and landslides triggered by days of heavy rain rose to at least 40 on Monday. The devastation prompted the country's president. Well, this extreme weather event will become commonplace. We need to, infrastructure needs to be completely overhauled, yada, yada, yada. About 900 rescuers, including divers, continued to search the tunnel, which fire officials estimated filled with water in less than 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, and it's bumper to bumper traffic through this underpass. There's nowhere it can go. Yoon ordered authorities to make an all-out effort to deal with the floods and promise support for recovery work, including designation of special disaster areas, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the residents and families of the victims have been heavily critical of local authorities, accusing them of presiding over a man-made disaster for not preemptively closing the tunnel amid torrential rain and rising water. Yeah, for the past 3 weeks, I've been getting these emergency service notices on my phone hourly, if not several times in the space of 4 or 5 minutes. Like, this road is closed, this bridge is closed, this tunnel is closed, there's a landslide here, there's a landslide there. It's just constantly ringing. And this is where it is here. Here's Seoul up here. It's in this underpass was in Cheongju, and I'm right down here in this corner here. That's where my house is, down here in Busan. But you'll see I'm surrounded. Actually, if you blow this up, you'll see I'm actually surrounded by water on 3 sides of my house. I am as far on the point as you can get. They asked why North Cheongju provincial government had not closed the low-lying tunnel, located just 600 meters from the Miho River, even after flood warnings were issued. Yeah, it's not always mandatory to implement entry restrictions in the event of a flood warning. Basically, we should have, but we didn't. It was too late. That's the gist of it. Which is sad. It's about 70 miles south of Seoul, and 40 deaths. Rainfall has been totaling 5 centimeters or 2.5 inches per hour. That's what we've been dealing with. 2.5 inches of rain for 5 hours. On Wednesday, which it's Monday night here, so 2 days from now we're expecting 3.1 inches per hour. 5 inches tomorrow. I think it's supposed to be up to 8 or 9 inches of rain we're going to get on Wednesday. I've never seen anything like this before. This was the second. Say that this was the second consecutive year of considerable flooding that's gone on. And there was a huge landslide that was caught. Do you live on a higher floor of your building? Yeah, my condo's on the 18th floor, so if I flood, we're all in problem. But no, the interesting thing was during typhoons and things, you'll get waves like wash up on. There was a big typhoon last year, and I went out and took videos, and I never uploaded the videos. Forgot about that till just now. We should go like retro and upload the old typhoon pictures. Yeah, the waves will wash up across the river and across the bay. I don't know if some of you have seen some pictures across the bay from my house. There, it's where all the uber super rich live, and I just get to look at their nice apartments from my window. But during one typhoon, the road was just deep, the entire area, which of course it's filling. Everybody's, you got to think, and here's a bit of a tip for those of you that find yourselves caught in massive rainstorms in parking garages, underground parking garages, and things like that. Don't go to the bottom. Because you saw all these people that have like Maybachs and Rolls Royces and Bentleys and Ferraris and Porsches and these ridiculously expensive cars, Lamborghinis. They all in their apartments, they said, ooh, the rain is coming. They all put their cars on the very bottom level of the underground parking garage. And most of these gigantic towers will have 7 or 8 levels of underground parking. So they all went down into the bottom. That's where all of the water from the typhoon went, down to the very bottom level. And last year there was a lot of, I think there was 8 or 9 people in another apartment that went to move their cars because the building manager people said the bottom level was filling up with water. It filled up faster than they thought, and about 8 people died trying to move their cars to a higher parking level. So if you do have underground parking level and there's this adverse, just extreme weather, don't put your car in the bottom. Put it as close to the top level as you can. That's a little bit smart bit of advice. But last year, the water was so deep in the streets, and the parking lots were full that there's some great video of people catching fish, like they're like bringing fish, this big out of the parking lot, out of the underground parking place. It's like, we got some fish. Let me bring up this as a last little thing here, this video of landslides and floods. This was a landslide that was caught on film.
Deadly floods in South Korea after 3 days of torrential rain triggered landslides. Dozens are also missing. A major dam overflowed in the center of the country. Thousands have also been evacuated as of Saturday, according to government data, with thousands more subject to local government evacuation orders. Meteorological data suggests more heavy rain is expected on the Korean peninsula. The country's national railway operator, Korea.
Now, notice this is a road, and that's a tunnel there under the road. There was no cars on the road when this happened. They'd closed the road, but you can see the size of this landslide. When you see this is a road, a riverside tunnel down here on the bottom.
Korea Railroad Corporation said it was halting all slow trains and some bullet trains as the landslides, track flooding, and falling rocks threatened safety. Late on Friday, a slow train was derailed when a landslide threw earth and sand over the tracks. The engineer was injured, but no passengers were on board. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has called for the military to assist
and
in
there's
rescue efforts.
been, I think, 10,000 people evacuated because of this from the central regions. And the last little video clip from the Associated Press. All of the dams across the country are open. The floodgates are thrown open, and they're trying to drain water as quickly as possible. But there's only a few places those waters can go, and the ground is already ridiculously saturated. Yeah, and normally these are just tiny little streams, where people go swimming and have picnics and whatnot on the banks. This is old. Yeah, it's up to 10,000, I think, was the most recent number of people that have been evacuated. One sandbag at a time. Yeah, so when I keep saying that it's raining here, I mean it is raining here. And we're still looking at probably another week to 10 days of this. So, with the 3 inches, 5-6 centimeters tonight, and about 3 times that's expected on Wednesday. So, hey, I just wanted to share that a little bit so you can see what's going on here in Korea when I talk about it just raining. Dogs haven't been outside in 3 weeks. It's hot as hell. The windows haven't been opened. It's stuffy as all get out in here. But anyway, that's kind of all I had for tonight. Let's see. We had where are we at here? Make sure I got all of the super chats out of the way. We did. We got the super chat out of the way. Soul on the Witch. Morning, Jeff. Ready for the Canabroad trial. Thank you so much for that super chat. And with that, we're going to shut down the show. And 5 minutes from now, we are going to start with the YNW Melly trial for Monday today. So let me set that up so that I can automatically send you over there. And I'm going to be there as quickly as I possibly can. I might be a few minutes late because I'm setting everything up and I've got to get my cocktail of the day ready, which is going to be a complicated, delicious, but complicated cocktail. Let me get here to YouTube. Quickly go over here to my studio. Go live. Content. Live. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to do. To go here. Fine. Oh, excuse me. Customization, that's what we need. Redirect. Redirect to me. All right, so this is going to redirect to me. It's just going to kind of hang out there for 5, maybe 10 minutes. It won't be any later than 10 minutes from now, but I'm going to do this as quickly as I possibly can. B Handler will be joining us. B Handler Remington will be joining us today, even though she's now, we'll talk about it later. Don't want to be any later than I have to. So everybody, thank you for joining me for the Maritime Monday today. A little bit of insight into current news, as well as just some updates on what's happening here in Korea. So thank you very much, people. We'll see you next week with some more Maritime Monday. Maybe, because it's the part of the dealership business trial. We might not do Maritime Monday next week. So anyway, we'll see you over there. You should get automatically redirected over to my other stream. If not, click the little blue box at the top of chat. And if that doesn't work, just go search for Legal Vices. That's me. Hit the like and subscribe button on your way out. And we'll see you over on my other stream in 5 to 10 minutes from now. Take care, everybody. We will see you there. Lorax out.